Wired Unplugged.
Hello.
Happy New Year, Jake.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year,
Aaron. Happy New Year across the
in
globe.
Spanish, that would be Feliz Año Nuevo.
Good, very good. Do you know my most, kind of around Christmas time, the radio is blaring Christmas songs.
And Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad was
That
was the one I heard the most, I think, this year.
Yeah.
You know, like there's every year there's one, and you go, I've heard that one a little bit more than usual.
Yeah.
There we go. We're on episode number 45, the 45 special.
Prospero año y felicidad.
Yeah, everyone can do the sort of Feliz Navidad bit, and then everyone just goes, I want to wish you a
Merry Christmas. Yay!
So, Did you have a nice Christmas break?
Do you know what I did? It was wonderful. The one observation that, after talking to everyone after the break, is, and I don't know if this was the same with you, but there was a lot to do over the Christmas break, personal life, just Christmassy, festive stuff, people coming and going and whatnot. So really, I only got to relax for the last 3 days, like proper, and then it got to the the night of the night before getting back on the Tuesday. I was like, oh well, guess this is over. It feels like no time at all. So I just had a bit of a cry, ate a piece of Toblerone.
Yeah, well, I think, believe it or not, I know everyone probably thinks every Christmas break could be longer, but this one particularly, like, I did like what's normally a 4-hour drive, but because of like Christmas traffic, each way was like 7.5 hours, something silly like that. So they were big days, and and before Christmas was a nice bit of quiet time. So I actually the 23rd and 24th were relaxed, but I have been managing to sneak in some time to play some games.
It's so have I, and we should talk about this. But I'm curious what you've been playing, because you said that there's new games.
I've been playing two new games. Yeah. And I say new, and they both kind of launched.
Silent Hill F. Pre-release. Yeah, it's like in a way.
Yeah, they were like, we're a big fan of the show. Well, I mean, before I let you know what I've been playing, and Aaron lets you know, you dear listener, this is the time where hopefully everyone's had a better chance to play something. So if you've been playing anything that you'd like to let us know about, you can get in touch with the show by tweeting us, Wired Unplugged, or you can email in unplugged@wiredproductions.com. Even if it's just some game from 2013 in your backlog that you've gone, you know what? I got through that. Oh my gosh, it was good, wasn't it? Should have listened.
I went a bit further back than 2013, but we'll get to that.
All right. Well, I've been looking. So I'm gonna. So unfortunately, this has to start with a little bit of a tangent, actually. A long time ago, I was on YouTube. I had my own YouTube channel, and it, did okay.
You made some unpopular opinions.
I made some unpopular opinions. Got a couple of million views. So I interviewed. I went on a bit of an investigation. This is back when people on YouTube used to investigate things. I wanted to investigate what happened to Lionhead Studios. Like I told you in the last podcast. So as we know, some of the fantastic team there work on like Tin Hearts. We got lots of little studios. We talked about this last podcast. And if you're kind of listening to this as a new start because it's a new year, you found this podcast. Hello, there's 44 other episodes. You can check them out. We've got some friends, some guests. We've got lots of people on. Anyway, I'll speed it up a little bit. I ended up finding two of the developers of Fable made this game called Kinseed from 2016.
KYN. Yeah.
So in 2016, I interviewed them about this game, and they sent me a code of the game, and that was it. But then I think they ended up accidentally kind of spoiling a lot of the game, and they said, "Oh, can you not put it out?" And that was the first time I ever interviewed anybody, and that's just been kind of sitting on my Steam account for that long. And turns out though that since 2018, it's been in early access, and the game actually fully launched a few weeks before that. So I've got a Steam Deck just sort of lying around. My partner's like, "Can I look at the Steam Deck?" I was like, yeah. Why don't you log in? And we got a family sharing set up. And then she ended up clicking on Kinseed. There we go. And that's all she wrote. Basically, I think between the two of us, we've put in about 72 hours. If you add up our time together on it, we probably put about 24 hours into it. It is great little game. It's like, the best way to describe it, it's Fable meets Stardew Valley meets and I'm not just saying this, it's got a lot of Elder Scrolls about it, you know. I'm really, really surprised. So Stardew Valley is this really, really incredible sort of...
For those who haven't heard about it.
Yeah, for those that don't know, but let's not get it twisted. Yeah. Stardew Valley is a love letter to Harvest Moon, right?
Yes.
That's all it is, essentially. But it somehow captured the imaginations of a lot of people. Same with Animal Crossing. And then so many games try and capture the spirit. Kinseed wants to be a life sim and an RPG. And I thought, okay, good luck. It's absolutely phenomenal. It has all of the little psychological tricks of Stardew and everything. You know, it's only a real life 12 minutes per day. So you constantly feel like, I'll just do one more day. I'll just do one more day. But on top,
it's the Civilization one more turn, right? It's like, exactly one more turn.
That. But instead of just farming, you can fully open a shop, go around exploring. You know, it's...
I love that.
I've been absolutely blown away by how...
I'm just going to write it down because I know about the game, but I never played it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to write it down because yeah.
And what's really hilarious to me is, you know, like that meme of like the guy at a club talking in a girl's ear. That's me to my partner every time. Hey, did you know that's a Fable reference? Did you know that's actually a reference to Fable? You know, the Vale and his siblings and all of that. And it's actually, there's 3 chickens in it called Fable, Fable 2 and Fable 3. So, you know,
love it.
Yeah, it's an incredible game. And it's like what a lot
sorry, I was like, oh yeah, it's a nice name in chickens. But Fable was famous for chicken kicking. Is that right?
Yeah, well, in Fable 1, you know, your very first sort of nickname in the renowned system is called
Chicken
Chicken
Chaser. That's not why it was famous.
No, But famously, in the start of the game, you get called Chicken Chaser, and you can kick chickens. And then at the end of the game, it would have, you know, all your stats, and it would say the furthest you kick the chicken and all of that. So, you know, it's that has been great. And then the other thing I've been playing, I can just say it in like 2 sentences, is Duelist 2, which is like a new deck builder type game like Magic and Hearthstone and things, but mixed with like a tile-based battle system. So rather than like a lot of card games, you kind of just put your card out and you say, here's my card, it's out now, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And you twist them and turn them and Magic. Well, this has kind of got a tile-based XCOM, Mario and Rabbids, or Into the Breach type thing. So you're playing your cards on a field as well. So it's just a traditional type card game with spells and minions, and you've got your general or your commander, but it's got this space. So Duelist was incredibly popular at the time, but it was a small development studio and they ended up having to stop support for it. They did a Kickstarter for Duelist 2 just 2 months ago, and they've already put a fully fledged like public beta out now. So I love these types of games, these like Magic, Legends of Runeterra. So I've been back into that, and that's between those 2 games, I'm like dreaming about them. You know, they're nestled into my brain. You know, it's one of those. So yeah, it's been really lovely. Oh, and of course I played Bloodborne again. How did you get on this Christmas break?
You just casually played Bloodborne again?
Yeah, I just chucked it in there.
All the way through? Or just a bit?
All the way through, but not the DLC yet. Yeah.
Did you find a way to stop time?
No, I'm quite efficient with my Bloodborne.
I guess
because it's like, to me, it's just like I've done it so much now.
Yeah.
And I was just doing it to sort of give my girlfriend a tour. Like
critical path.
This is. Yeah, here's this. I nearly said a big spoiler. Here's this. Oh, whoa! Yeah. Didn't see that coming, did you? Anyway, here we go. I was getting a bit further into that Callisto Protocol, but you know,
where are you with that? I haven't started yet, so
you know, I'm liking it a lot more. But I'm actually, I know it sounds silly, I'm taking my time with it because I know when it's over, I'm never going to play it again, sort of thing. But I'm quite enjoying it. Like
because you've got Dead Space coming up as well, right? Remake.
Yeah. I was just explaining at the beginning of this podcast. I drove down to Kent. It took me 7.5 hours. That's what playing the Callisto Protocol's like. I'm just following one junction, turn off to another. I'm quite enjoying it.
It's like driving to Kent. The video game.
It's like driving on a motorway. It's like, okay, come off here, do that. Come off here, do that. Here's a slight challenge. Come off here, do that. Callisto Protocol is just literally a bit of a sat-nav game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got a guy on a walkie-talkie going, all right, we need to get to the weapons room. Get to the weapons room. Oh no, the fuses are all broken. Oh no, go to the fuse room. Oh no. You know,
there isn't actually a fuse room, right? That's just an example.
No, that's an example.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
A room full of fuses. That is a horror, isn't it?
Go to the missing block rooms. Like,
well, and for anyone who's listening, and I wanted to just kind of mention this then, because people might think I'm giving out a bit of an unfair shake. Let's just make this clear. Yes, Dead Space 1 also just does that, doesn't it? It is literally just a tour of you going into a room and going, oh, that's a bit broken.
Yeah.
Dead Space is out this week. Yeah.
Bit dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's out this month.
It's out. Yeah, it's out the end of this month. Dead Space, the remake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can't do it.
Can't justify it. Can you? No.
Do you remember on the not the special episode that came out last, but the one before that we actually did before Christmas, and we're talking about things we'd like to improve and be mindful of in 2023.
Yep.
And mine was not buy as many games, pay attention to my backlog, play games that I feel I want to play at the time and not as a task, as a chore, and get more enjoyment out of gaming. I am very excited by the prospect of Dead Space, but I have Callisto Protocol and all these other things. So I'm like, as much as I'm like, oh, people are seeming to think, well, it's Dead Space, right? You know what you're going to get. But apparently there's this isn't including this, but apparently there's a new game plus and extra missions.
Yeah, and apparently there's a whole new, like, I know it sounds a bit disgusting for anyone who doesn't really like horror games, so sorry, but like you can kind of like, I don't know what the right word is, delimb the enemies. Dismember, that's the word, yeah. Dismember. But now that they've added a whole new aspect of that, I think you can like get down to like muscle and sinew and flinging and all of that. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. Space butchery times 10. Yeah. So
the power of these graphics.
So you've been so I'm glad to know that like 6 days into the new year, 7 days into the new year, we're still on schedule for you. Not
on track. I'm trying to keep to it.
I reckon you'll do well. We'll keep it. If you'd like to send Aaron words of encouragement, feel free to do so at Wired Unplugged. Actually, just before we recorded this podcast, Aaron did get some words of encouragement. I just checked my Twitter, and someone was sort of lauding your king speech, which was very lovely.
Yeah, I just saw that. I just thought, thanks, Gabrielle, previous guest. I read it and I was like, I think I said stuff, but I can't remember what I said.
Very nice and positive. You just take my word for it. Don't go back and watch yourself because you just
whatever I say, I do mean. Yeah.
But I'm sure I meant it. So if you'd like to send Aaron some words of encouragement and keep him straight and true without buying Dead Space, help him not buckle at Wired Unplugged. Thank you, Aaron. Recovery program. It sounds like. So what did you play over Christmas?
I want to pick up on something that you said, and you talking about your time on YouTube. You know, doing your investigative digging. Because that's fun to do. I did the same in the past, and there's two things, and one of them connects to what I've been playing. The first one was I was one of the first people to get any sort of solid information out of what the Final Fantasy VII remake was going to be. And that was part of the Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns tour. And there was an event. There was an event, and the event was called 13-13-13. And it was like the 13th day, the 13th hour, so 1 p.m. 20. It wasn't 2013. There's no way it was 2013. Like that, though, It was. It all meant something. And we had. Who did we have? It was Yoshinori Kitase.
Yeah.
And so, I should have prepared. I wasn't even thinking about this until you mentioned it, but I got to meet them. Very, very lovely guys. I got to do an interview with them, and I'd seen people not attack them, but go into interviews and say, "Tell me about Final Fantasy VII remake. What's going on?" Blah 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 blah.
Interrogation, wasn't it?
And the answers were usually short. Nothing really to say. But I went in with the angle of deconstructing what they were doing in Final Fantasy 13, and trying to match the thinking up with remake and what remake could be and so on, and ended up with this. I think it was like 20 minutes of non-stop discussion just on that point. And I remember coming out, and then we asked nice stuff about Lightning Returns and all this other stuff. And I remember coming out, and and that happened quite early on in the interview. And after that happened, I was like, no matter what else happens in this interview, this is gold.
I got that. Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a personal thing to say. Investigative stuff is fun. It's fun.
It is nice.
But one other thing, something that I've seen recently, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a different way later on. It's the developers of Star Fox, the original Star Fox / Starwing, talk about working with Shigeru Miyamoto and give an insight into the unfathomable man. And I've seen these things come up. Star Fox is of great interest to me. I love the franchise, I love the series. And I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, no, I've trumped this. I've trumped this in the past. I did an interview with Dylan Cuthbert way back when. Way back when.
Yeah.
And this ended up being picked up by IGA and GameSpot and people like that. Right. So this story's already been told in deep with it, but he goes into depth about him as an actual human being,
right?
And not, the myth, legend, and pedestal that people put him on, and brought some humanity. And this is why I always say, even Miyamoto makes a sandwich. That's
does he roll for sandwich?
Any person does he roll for sandwich. That was great, by the way. But did an interview and he's like, talking about how he was a heavy smoker and they'd be sat in a room and it was just filled with smoke and it's just like, and all this stuff. But anyway, that was fun. That was a really nice thing to be able to talk to him about that. And that's something that's started to come up again from different sources this time. But one thing that I have been playing over Christmas, and my intention was, I'm going to play all this stuff and sink some time in and get some stuff out of the way in a nice way that I want to play. Because I've been playing through Nier, carried on playing that, and that's
Automata, right? Not
Automata. Yeah. And that's still good fun, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm taking my time with that. But what I'd sunk most time into was replaying from scratch Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube.
We've kind of been microdosing this throughout the last 10 episodes. It's come up a couple of times.
Yeah, and that subliminal marketing has worked on me.
You've just got in your head. It's time. Yeah.
And it was time, and it was basically because I'm not saying it was the best Christmas in the world, but one of my teenage, shall we say, Christmas memories was getting Star Fox Adventures and the Wavebird on Christmas Day. And how exciting that was, because it was like a whole new adventure and wireless controller. What the hell? Felt great. And also, Star Fox Adventures was the first time I'd ever had contact with anyone in the games industry, because I wrote Rare a letter because it was announced that Star Fox Adventures was coming out, but also the Rare acquisition was happening. And I decided, I'm just going to write them a letter, just say I'm excited for Star Fox Adventures and appreciate all the work they've done since playing Donkey Kong Country way back when and all of this. And, share some thoughts on, hey, it's sad to hear that you're being bought by Microsoft, but very excited, blah, blah, blah. Please send me all of the signatures of your team, sort of thing. And I got a letter back. And I remember it coming through, and it was a really thick envelope, and it had the Rare stamp on the top. And it was a very exciting morning before going to school. It's like, oh my God,
they come back. They're back.
Yeah. And many years later, if you fast forward many years later, I got invited to Rare to judge their game jam, internal game jam. And that was a weird one for me, because it was me. It was Gary from Lionhead. It was Phil Harrison. I think it was Kudo Tsunoda from Xbox as well. And me. I'm like, why the hell am I here? Like, what am I doing?
Like Charlie
anyway,
Bucket in the
I was like, okay, hello. But we did a little tour around the studio as well, and this was something that I'd mentioned to them before, and was like, oh, also, this is Lee, and Lee is the person who wrote to you. And it was the person that wrote me the letter in my teenage years. I was like, this is so bizarre. But anyway, so I've been diving back into Star Fox Adventures, and I'm having a good time with it. I see the game in a different light, because obviously time has passed. And I also forgot as well that I'd played 60% of the game this time without realizing and forgetting that you have to manually, in certain games, change the setting to widescreen. So I've been playing with like this really chunky fox, and I was like, something seems weird.
Yeah,
I forget that it's an actual manual option,
you have to,
widescreen in the main. There's no system level stuff, and that's what I've been playing.
Good. And for those that don't know, I guess Star Fox Adventures was connected to all of Aaron's points here. Miyamoto produced it. David Wise did the soundtrack, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kev Bayless, who we've spoken about before, who did the Christmas song with Grant Kirkhope and co.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
He worked on the game, obviously, and he did the voice of Prince Tricky.
Yeah, he did.
And then there's someone else who worked on it as well. I forget his name, but I sent him a tweet about it. But he works on the game. He did the voice of Fox in Star Fox Adventures as well. So a Rare employee did the voice of Fox and is now the voice actor for Fox, who's done the most scripted lines as Fox.
Brilliant. Yeah, there we go. Because for those that don't know, I guess the one thing worth mentioning about revisiting it, and I'm sure you'll agree on this, that when the GameCube came out, there was quite a lot of interesting things. Nintendo. This is like one of the first examples of Nintendo being Nintendo, right? And going, what do you guys want? So Wind Waker, for example, it's the sequel to, well, it's not a sequel, it's the next game after Majora's Mask, and it had this cell shaded style, which was blasphemous in the eyes of some people. Star Fox Adventures was the follow up of one of the most successful Nintendo 64 games, and was this sort of planet side adventure where you weren't really at all in your ship, and you were just walking around with a staff and some dinosaurs. So they were doing some really clever things, but I think at the time, they were a bit advanced maybe they didn't exceed expectations, but they sort of subverted them, didn't they?
Yeah.
So to come back 20 years later and just look at it for what it is, not as like what it was if you expected another Lilac Wars or whatever, right? That must be lovely. So that's a bit of a classic from the attic. 21 years old, that game, by the way, for anyone that's interested.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So whilst you ponder your own mortality there, I think it's a good opportunity to move into something to keep you alive, something more current.
I'll get the show started.
And let's get the show started. Well, that was nice. It was nice to slowly,
ease our way back in.
Up. We've got a big year ahead. And and like I say, we know that it's not just us who's been sitting around playing random games. So again, I'd just like to say, if there's anything you've been playing, it's been something like that. Something like Star Fox is a great shout. No one would have guessed that, would they? Well, unless you've listened to this podcast. But give us like an obscure game, or maybe not an obscure game, that you've been playing over the Christmas break. You can tweet us at Wired Unplugged, or you can email us unplugged@wiredproductions.com. This is the propaganda segment.
Wired Propaganda.
New year, new propaganda. What have we got going on to kick off 2023?
Yeah, so in the spirit of what we've just said, we are easing gradually into the year, into 2023. And some things happened during the break that I thought would be interesting to pick up, just in case people didn't take notice if they were busy eating Toblerone like me and, making mulled apple juice. So Nintendo, over the festive period in the build-up to Christmas, did a fun special indie event, and it was an indie game reveal every day in the build-up to Christmas. So an update on a title, a reveal of a game.
Calendar.
Yeah, which is, it brought really cool reveals, like Sports Story was one of those announcements, and it's out today. But very, very kindly, Nintendo invited us to participate with an announcement for one of our upcoming Switch games. And we got to announce the release date for the Nintendo Switch version of Tin Hearts, along with a nice, beautiful trailer. And Tin Hearts on Nintendo Switch is going to be coming April 20th this year. Yeah. And that is, for now, that is the Nintendo Switch announcement. Obviously, keep your ears to the ground for details on other versions, as that may start to come out of the woodwork soon.
Woodwork, good use of.
Thank you. Yeah.
So again, and so again, not to kind of, I know it's not related, but it is in my heart. Any of the old Lionhead ilk, I'm always excited to see. Like I say, picking up Kinseed happened to be. If I played it 4 weeks ago, that would have been up there for Game of the Year for me, I reckon.
Yeah.
Tin Hearts, I've got a feel for it. I've had some hands-on time with it already. I am incredibly excited to get the full version of Tin Hearts in my life. And if it is in my life right now, I'm not allowed to tell you anyway. We can talk about it soon.
A lot of care. I think it's. I think it can give you some comfort into the quality of game on that the game is on Nintendo Switch as well. That Nintendo allowed us to be a part of this because there were some really, really chunky announcements.
Yeah.
And it is one of those games where you can chill and play on your TV, but playing this in a relaxing bath or just chilling on your sofa, especially on the OLED as well, when everything just pops that little more vibrantly and brighter, it's something to look forward to.
Yeah. And not too far away, April. All right.
April, yeah.
Good. That's a nice bit of propaganda that's not too distant to start things off. What else have we got going on?
Print magic. What does that mean? It means nothing. No, but over Christmas, I think it was December 29th, just before New Year hit, the latest issue of Edge came out. And within that, there is a whole section on trying to dive a little bit deeper into PSVR 2. And, Edge spent some time with Jorg and Ryan, the folks who were working on The Last Worker. And they got to dive into their thoughts on PSVR 2, talk a bit more about the game and how it does use VR and, what the whole experience is going to be like on the new, I don't want to call it system, but the new peripheral, the new VR headset, the new equipment.
Yeah.
And that's a really good chunky couple of pages long. So if you haven't read it yet, do go take a look. You can also get it digitally as well if that's your jam.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interesting. It's Jorg and Ryan, right? These people are creative legends in very different respects, from technical and storytelling narrative. So there's a lot of interesting nuggets that you'll get out of this.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear stuff like that, like a creative aspect on tech. And PlayStation VR 2, for those that don't know, it launches soon, February 20.
February. Yeah.
So,
in the same breath, this is something that came to light, and I think it's only right to cast a salute their way. But unfortunately, Wireframe magazine, who have been very good people and supporters of Wired and our games, and actually shown interest in diving deeper into the grit of each game and so on. They announced today that issue 70, which is the last issue to come out, is going to be their last physical, which is a shame.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a massive shame. It doesn't mean they're shutting down, and they do have plans to announce what they're doing going forward. You'd assume it would be a digital online endeavor, but they'll have more information soon. But the team, they have always been very gracious and great with Wired titles, and they're a wonderful bunch. So it's a shame to see such a good print magazine fall, because it's you have other good, really interesting print magazines out there as well, like Lock On as well, who are thriving at the moment, and they're doing things in a very different way. There's I did get an issue of Ninty Fresh over the Christmas period, which luckily is an issue completely dedicated to the Star Fox franchise. It's like half of it is about Star Fox, which was great for me playing Star Fox Adventures. Like, look through this and look back at some games I may have forgotten.
It's
but
interesting that, like you say, magazines used to be a commodity, and now they're becoming in their own rights a little bit like books. So you mentioned Lock On. And that's a sort of, for anyone that doesn't know, Lock On's a kind of, I guess it's a very, very well curated zine that you can buy online, and I think each individual episode has to be funded before it's printed. So it's like mini, not Kickstarters, but
they are Kickstarters.
Oh, are they actually on
Kickstarter?
Kickstarter?
By Kickstarter, Yeah.
I use I support books
so.
on like unbound.com, which is like Kickstarter just for books. And it's funny because it's like they treat it like a real collector's, like a product. You know, like how there's the Wired Back label collection. You know, if you want something a bit more premium, you have regular magazine, you have soft cover, and then you can buy for about £50, isn't it? The hardcover.
Yeah.
And everything is bespoke and not, and designed with full purpose. And I think that's the kind of the way that things are going. I kind of have like a folk horror magazine. It's quarterly, and they're beautifully made. Like, and the excitement of getting it through the post, it's something to behold. It's a real afternoon. So
it's like when the Ninty Fresh magazine came through the door. It was like when I used to get my subscription of O&M through the door every month. You know, as a teenage me being like, a magazine all about games. You know, when the internet was sort of.
I used to get this heavy metal magazine called Terrorizer, which sadly no longer exists. Extreme metal, and I used to have it on mail order, and obviously it would come with a CD, like back when video game magazines used to come with demo discs and stuff. And it was an afternoon, or longer than that, But so that's a very, very worthy salute. Not propaganda, but I see how you did it. So, and it should exist wherever the heck it wants in this podcast, because like you say, big supporters of the Wired machine here. Machine. Wireframe, salute to you. 45 special salute. That's the reference to episode 45 and the Winchester 45 special. That's the best I could do. I don't really know anything about guns. I'm from the UK. All right, cool. What else have we got going on?
New year, new you. So we have started a program of fitness and diet here, and you can sign. No, I joke. But new year, new you. We've mentioned this before. We are hiring. Wider hiring. Some roles are senior, some are entry. So it could either be a good way to move into something more of interest to you and your talent, or it could be your very good first step into the games industry.
Absolutely.
The start of a new year, there's no better time than to try and make something happen, make a dream come true. If you've wanted to work in games, exactly.
Yeah.
Put yourself to the test. And you can only just, if it is on your mind, the only advice I can give is just take the first step. Reach out and go from there. It's all experience. But we're currently on the hunt for a PR manager, a product manager, a producer, and a QA tester as well. So there's four cool roles that are on the table, all very different disciplines. And the really good thing, if you end up working at or with Wired, there's a lot of freedom and crossover in terms of incubating opinion from across the board. There are no bad ideas, and there's a part of me that thinks, hey, you should publish the ideals on. But make it more front and center, because I was interestingly, for no reason in particular, I was just looking through the Platinum Games website, and they have a section. It's bizarrely in their contact us section, where it's like if you want a job or if you want to get in touch for press reasons or whatever. There's just a little tab, and it's a section called the Platinum 8. And I was like, oh, is this talking about 8 titles that they're working on or something? But no, it's the Platinum 8, and it's 8 internal rules that they follow to be successful.
Yeah.
And I read through it, and I was like, hey, it's wonderful. It's great. I think a lot of people maybe see Platinum as an elusive entity, but I think that gives you a lot of detail on who they are, how they function.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of similarities to different companies that I've certainly worked with and known that fall into that. So
that's right. And just my only thing I'd add to this is a lot of people, especially if you're working a regular blue collar job with a lot of rules and regulations, the games industry, although it is hardworking, is a lot less formal in a lot of aspects than if you worked in, I don't know, a call center. Maybe your opinion wouldn't be heard because you have to follow a complete. Games industry is not like that. So just be brave and take a chance, and then you change your life in it. So nice one.
Yeah,
good. Miss World over here.
Get the sash on.
Yeah.
There was one more thing, but I think we're going to save that for next week because we've already asked the question.
Yeah,
so
we've already asked the question.
Yeah.
It's the Christmas
One's enough.
Wednesday. We're slow, full of cheese and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it. So to reiterate the question, what have you been playing over Christmas? If you'd like to let us know, but question of the week, then you can just let us know. That's not the official jingle. Maybe I'll put some guitars behind it or an organ. Question of the week. And then, at Unplugged on Twitter. Thank you very much. It's time for the news, baby.
News Stone from Google.
I just got distracted and moved my hands about and thinking it's like a TikTok dance. I was on TikTok earlier and I was like, why am I getting all of this complete rubbish? It's because I hadn't logged in. And I forgot that people still dance on TikTok. I forget that's a thing. Anyway, that's not what this is about. This is the news section. You know what? Despite it being festive, you've managed to pull some things out, haven't you? You've got some news here.
Yeah.
What have we got going on?
A lot has happened while we've been away, and I want to play a game with this because we had a chunky intro to this episode. We did, so I don't think we're going to get it all. So I'm going to choose one. I'll choose one.
Yep.
Then I'll let you choose the next, and we'll see how we get on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So the one I want to talk about, just because I'm selfish, is there is currently a lot of talk amongst journalists and opinion leaders that due to the fact that nothing major has been announced beyond Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, that it is clear that Nintendo are prepping to announce and release a successor to the Switch. I have opinions on this, but do you?
I do have opinions on it. I mean, I think, do you know what the beautiful thing about Nintendo is? Everyone has an opinion on it. Whether you're the PC Master Race, I only play Escape from Tarkov and cry about people having fun type player, or a nice Escape from Tarkov player, they do exist. Or you're a Nintendo ride or die, Nintendo generation grew up on it. Everyone has opinions on what Nintendo are up to. And do you know what the flipping mad thing is? Everybody cares. Everyone wants to know what Nintendo are up to because they transcend, don't they? So, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'd love to hear your opinion first, but I'm just going to give you a couple of facts before we begin.
Facts me up.
Facts for the folks at home. Nintendo's first major console was released in 1985, the NES. 5 years later, was the Super Nintendo, or the Famicom for our friends across the pond. 6 years later was the launch of the Nintendo 64. 87 in Europe. Okay. 5 years later, the Nintendo GameCube. 5 years later, the Nintendo Wii. Firm fan favorite. 6 years later, the Nintendo Wii U.
Which was an add-on, right?
Which was...
It was an add-on for the Wii, right?
It was the gateway drug to the Switch.
Yeah.
And 5 years later was the Nintendo Switch. So, they are the facts. On average, Nintendo are 5 or sometimes 6 years apart with their console releases. And here's one final fact. 2023 is 6 years later than 2017, the launch year of the Nintendo Switch. Your thoughts, please.
I have some thoughts, and nothing is definitive. But what we do know is when Nintendo announced the Switch, it wasn't long between announce and release. Let's be honest, I think it was the shortest announce to release campaign they've probably done for a game system ever.
Yes.
It was very, very nippy. So, they clearly have the capability to do something quick if they want to. Where I feel it may not necessarily be on the cards is because of what people are pointing out. If Nintendo were going to release a new console, I think that they would also want to take advantage of whatever extra features that adds with Tears of the Kingdom, with Zelda. And I think the fact that Zelda is launching in spring. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would want to cannibalize or encourage people to start playing Tears of the Kingdom and then get it later on a more powerful system, because those games aren't small.
No.
if you look at what happened with the Wii U and the Switch, you know, once internally they said, oh, we've also got the Switch as well, development moved to a dual release of Switch and Wii U at the same time. And the same happened with Twilight Princess on the on the GameCube and
it
the
was
Wii.
on both. It was on both,
So I think that that would be a reason to suggest that if it was going to happen, it would be in some simultaneous fashion with Zelda. I don't think there is enough time between now and spring to announce a new console.
No.
And keep Zelda in the place that it is. Now, obviously, they can delay Zelda, but that has happened several times, and it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing for Zelda games to be delayed, right? But I think this is when they've put something quite definitive on. This is the window it's releasing in,
right?
And the date. So I think that in itself is a reason why there won't be a rush to launch a new Switch. I don't think a new console with just a new Mario game, even though that there is all the hype being driven towards the Mario movie at the moment, is enough. I also don't think that a new console can launch with just a new Metroid Prime. If it is shining stuff, Metroid Prime and Metroid Dread did very well. But Metroid Prime, it's not a series that performed very well at the time because of the system it was on.
Yeah.
So it's an unknown thing, and it's a lot of chips to place your bets on. Say this is our launch.
And on top of that, really, when you think about it, a lot of the key demographic for Nintendo is still families and young children. And the truth of the matter is, and sorry again to make you feel old for the second time in this podcast, a lot of them won't be born or remember Metroid Prime. Really, it's like this Silent Hill thing I've been banging on about for about 9 months. Some people just don't even know what it is anymore because it's not been in. It's really interesting what you're saying.
There's more to this. Sorry, Jake. Okay. There is more to this as well. And just observations of Nintendo published Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That has a season pass with hardcore DLC being released up until the end of this year. And it's the same with Mario Kart 8. In terms of that has tracks releasing until the end of this year.
Yeah.
I don't think they would want to throw those things casually away either.
Can't discard them. I mean, what I'll say to add to everything you've mentioned there is that regarding the Switch, the run up, you mentioned it was a short run up. For those at home who might not remember, the console was revealed in October 2016, and then it was launched in March 2017. So 6 months. And the trailer only showed Breath of the Wild, and then it said that there was going to be a new Super Mario Kart and new Splatoon. Splatoon was like a new IP at the time because it had just come out on Wii U. And then like those games were like that was Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2. But it's like the truth of the matter is like they're gonna probably have to link it to a system seller. Breath of the Wild was that system seller. Pokemon just released a big one, Violet. They're gonna do another Pokemon next year that's gonna sell as much as a lot of Pokemon lately. They've just celebrated the big 25th anniversary. Like Mario is their best chance, isn't it? Because Metroid doesn't have that. Donkey Kong, who's gonna buy a new Switch for Donkey Kong? Me and Video Game Donkey, and that's probably it.
They've announced Pikmin 4.
Pikmin is like another one. I like it, but
which looks nice.
It does look great. They've been doing well.
It's not a big.
It's got to be a Mario, isn't it? What I'll say is, I was looking, and two things I'll say for the armchair pundits at home. Traditionally, you get a lot of consoles launching November. I've just been looking at Nintendo's releases November, historically, apart from the Switch. But they like to switch up. One thing that was not a pun. That was not a pun.
Oh man, God.
One thing I'll say that the games industry is doing. This is a bit of insider knowledge for the folks at home. Again, you'll know this. The Wired alum will know this. But the tip, because of the way everything is at the moment, TikTok and Twitch, and the way that people are consuming media, it's kind of not the thing anymore. A game's getting announced, and then it's like, okay, see you in 6 years. EA, for example, are doing this 8-week thing where they're announcing a game and it's out in 8 weeks. And then every 2 weeks, they have a trailer just to say, remember this game's out soon. Remember this game's out soon. Dead Space was similar to that, So that's the Switch did that first. It was kind of like, guys, we're doing a console in just a few months. Like, haha. It's in March, by the way. So, just after you've got your money back from Christmas. Wow. Whatever Nintendo do is whatever they want to do. And that's the thing. They could do something completely crazy and illogical because it's Nintendo and we'd just adapt. So I'm with you, though. I don't think we're going to see one this year. I think it'll be Q1 2024. And gosh knows what it's going to look like. Hopefully another hybrid console. But interesting to see.
I mean, to be honest, I think it'd be great as well, and maybe it's part of a strategy. E3 is coming back this year, right? Yeah. And there is usually an E3 Direct. How nice would it be to get to that E3 Direct and they say, here are really cool games. Surprise! One is out in 3 weeks' time. They are coming soon.
Yeah.
This is why you don't know. This is why you don't know things. But
yeah.
I don't know. But
hopefully they have answers. But again, I like that Nintendo are a law unto themselves. They're unpredictable. So I mean,
I have one more thought on this actually.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I've been served a lot of YouTube videos recently that seem to feature prominently the expansion pack for the N64, which Donkey Kong 64 needed to play and so on, and offered better, more RAM at the time. And I think people have always pondered this possibility of, well, could they just release an add-on or a dock or something to increase the power, which is similar to what they did with the expansion pack. It's like, this is an optional thing if you want more welly. That's an option. Could be confusing with people though, and do people now want something a bit more of a newer experience now? People watching this are like, hey, but you're wired. Sure, you have or don't have dev kits for the new systems now. The producers that work at Wired are probably listening and watching this and going, yeah, we do, or no, we don't. But people are secretive because so we don't know anything.
I remember an unnamed party at an unknown period of time having a Google Stadia dev kit, and the amount of paperwork, even by me saying that now, someone's knees are getting broken, figuratively, not literally. But it is unbelievable when you've got a test kit. So, I mean, I'm a man, a very curious, questionable individual with a lot of questions to ask. And I'd like to ask the folks at home this, right? You're a Nintendo head. Maybe you're not a Nintendo head. Okay. Not only do I want to know what you play for Christmas, but I would be really curious which Nintendo IP would tip you over the edge to buy the console. And I'll let you in on. Do you know what it was that made me buy a Switch? Hollow Knight. It's not even a Nintendo IP. As soon as Hollow Knight was announced and it was out right now, I got to switch that there and then.
Wow.
But I'll tell you one IP that could do it. It's a bit of a because it's 3 years old now. But I'll tell you what now has got the hearts and minds of the young, the old, the new, the grumpy, the cute, the cozy. Animal Crossing as an IP is maybe big enough that if they make a new Animal Crossing,
interesting you say that, because I agree with you. That carries a lot of welly, and again, the YouTube algorithm for some reason has been sending videos about opinion pieces on Animal Crossing, and people kind of upset of why haven't they supported it for more than 2 years, blah 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 blah. Why they're still not doing this? It's like there's probably actually a good reason. I think that could be.
That's
that would be a good one to get out the gate with.
If I was forced for some weird reason, if I was forced at gunpoint to guess an IP, it would be
Animal Crossing.
It would be Animal Crossing. I think that would sell, right? But hey, there we go. It's an interesting discussion, and definitely going to find something out this year, aren't we?
There is. there's so much more to this, and obviously there is always but the system could be backwards compatible and stuff. But let's not joke at how massive an IP Splatoon is, right?
Yeah.
And the sales that does in Japan and everywhere else around the world, and what that has grown into.
In a
Animal
very short
Crossing and
period of
Splatoon
time
are
compared
massive, right?
Yeah.
Splatoon 3 is new. We're about to get onto the third Splatfest this weekend, I think. They have already announced that there is lots of DLC on the way and paid meaty stuff. So I do think Splatoon would be important to a new system in some way, and I'm just trying to gauge the timings in my head and stuff. But I think you're right with Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, a new Mario Kart. Honestly, yeah. But whatever it is, I'm sure we're going to find something out this year. It's an exciting year to be a Nintendo fan, as it always is.
It's an exciting year to be a fan of games.
It certainly is. So, do you know, I think I would like
We've got time for one more, right?
I've got a lot of time for all of these things, but we don't have time. So let's look at... I'm not going to do Konami. I'm tempted. I'll tell you, let's talk about something that we do know a little bit about, and something that's probably a far cry. That's not a Ubisoft pun. From Nintendo games, but another firm fan favorite is Bethesda Game Studios, and their single player output. I mean, their multiplayer output. Some people still do play Fallout 76. You just mentioned your algorithm. I was on YouTube this morning, and actually, I got recommended for no reason whatsoever an IGN video from 4 months ago saying the weird and wonderful fans who are still playing Fallout 76. But this isn't the news piece. The news piece that we've got here is that Bethesda have just reiterated that Starfield will release in the first half of this year. Are we excited? Well, how do you feel about Starfield, first of all? Or how do you feel about any of the Elder Scrolls stuff?
This one is very weird for me because in the space I live in on the internet, all I see is the best game of this year is going to be Starfield. My most excited game I'm excited for this year is Starfield.
Yeah.
Starfield. Sorry, that's not mine, but people that I see.
I don't mean that's right. Yeah.
And for me, I'm like,
completely ambivalent.
I'm like, but why? Like, this is not me saying I don't think it's going to be a good game. It's not me saying I don't think it's going to be a bad game either. Like, I can't judge it until it's out and people can see it. But this is one of those games where I remember when it was revealed and it was like, Starfield, this is a new thing and it's at some very, very distant futuristic moment in time. And now we're at the year it's releasing, and I feel like I have no bloody idea what the actual game is, what is going to be. There was that video that was released mid last year, I think. And
I think it was it part of E3 or
some gaming or something? No, it would have been the Microsoft E3 thing, maybe, right?
One of the Microsoft Bethesda collab.
And I'm just. I don't feel like I am getting the information on why I should be excited for it at the moment. I haven't gone out of my way to look for anything. I'm not really being served anything in my face besides people saying, I'm very excited about this. But, it does... We've had conversations in the past about, taking stock of information that is out there and not just blindly... I'm not even going to go into that, actually. But
no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Bethesda have a good track record of making immersive RPG style games. They also, some titles from Bethesda don't normally. They improve over time.
Yeah.
But I just worry that because. I worry about what the reaction is going to be like because there isn't a lot of information out there that is exactly what this game is, granular and blah blah blah. I worry that people's people's own expectations may not fall of what the game actually is, which leads to disappointment when it's not something that has been explicitly stated. But I think that I don't have an opinion on this, but I see people are excited for it. I don't understand why. Not because I've seen stuff and think, oh, that doesn't look that good, but it's because I don't understand what the grip and grab is. How I haven't been grabbed into it yet. Let's say that.
No, I know exactly what you mean, and it's kind of exactly how I feel about it. So what I mean is, on any given Sunday, I would be excited for a Bethesda Game Studios joint because, like, you know, what's their first one? Morrowind.
Yeah.
Then they did Oblivion. Then they did Fallout 3. Then they did Skyrim. Fallout 4, and like, okay, they did Fallout 4. Then Fallout 76 happened, and it was something different. Say what you want about it, blah, blah, but I tell you what, they did do something different. It was really out of their comfort zone, but now they are fully back in their comfort zone on paper, right? On paper. And, you know, if you're to believe what, you know, has been said, the game has been in full swing development since just before Fallout 4 launch, which, by the way, for the folks at home, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been in a completely playable state, apparently, according to Todd Howard himself, since 2018. So it's been playable for 5 years, and then it's just tweaking and changing. So on paper, I should be excited for this, and I'm probably in the best place I can be about this game because apart from Fallout 76, which I didn't really get on with, every other one has been, well, Fallout 4 I thought was great, but every other one I thought has been remarkable.
Yeah.
And my hype for Skyrim going into it, if that game was nothing short than a masterpiece, I would have been disappointed. Luckily, it was a masterpiece. This, I am so... that if I play it and it's any more than a 6 out of 10, happy days. Like, I have no expectations because of what you're saying. Because when I look at what's available to me, not what Todd Howard's saying, which again, I'm just going to give you his direct quote, Skyrim in space. I mean, Todd, be careful, mate. You're likening your game to, you know, probably the pinnacle of your company's career, and then saying, but in space. Be careful, Todd. You know, like, and I look at what's presented to me, it's just a lot of rocks, isn't it? It's just space, a lot of space rocks. And it's something my girlfriend said, which I think is like dead right. Like, it's worrying about space game or this game. It doesn't look like it's going to have as much personality, because that's the thing about Fallout, has oomph of personality. They took something very boring, like the nuclear apocalypse, which is just barren, mutated plants, and they decided to just go, okay, what have we got? We've got this like mid-century aspect. So although it's like after, you know, it's got this radio, you know, when you think of Fallout, you think of the music, right? And the aesthetic, and you don't think of like a sad brown ditch, do you?
No.
You think of like cool, weird mech suits, or like the Vault suit or whatever. So they managed to put these, so it's got like this iconography in it, hasn't it? It's got things, you could draw a picture. You know, like if you're playing charades and you were to draw Fallout, you'd have things in your mind to go to. When I'm looking at Starfield, I'm like, what is that if I was to try and draw in charades or Pictionary or whatever, Starfield, what am I drawing? That's what I'm looking for in a game. I'm looking for that personality.
I mean, that is the thing, though, because, you know, Fallout, you know, it does have a realistic look, but it also has that abstract cartoon slant as well. It does have iconography, like you said, like you know, the Vault Boy and the Vault Boy logo and Nuka-Cola and brands and things like that.
The special points in space. PSA. Yeah, exactly. And so Starfield, like, you know, the thing with space is there's a lot of void, isn't there? So by the very nature of space and its vastness, how are you making that seem like it's popping and it's like, it's not just sad colonies on a space rock?
Yeah. And here's the thing, this goes back to my New Year's resolution that we spoke about earlier things as well before Christmas. But I'm trying to bet with my gaming time as a person, as we've discussed. And within that does not mean I am not adverse to getting involved with a chunky game in terms of time commitment. That's fine. But at the moment, I do not know what I'm spending my time on. Like, I haven't seen much of what's in there where it's like, oh yeah, I want to do all those things, and this is going to be a good 100 hours to spend or whatever. Yeah. Now, one thing I will say is, without going into too much detail, is what I do know is that Bethesda they're very good at planning. They are very good at planning their marketing beats, information drops, and so on. So much so that, without name dropping any names of games or something, I was once in a presentation with Bethesda, which was, this is the timeline for game X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And this is how they're going to be announced. And that was a year or two before those games were announced. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, on those exact same dates, at the exact same time, those things occurred. And it was like exactly as it was written. So, I do have a feeling that maybe, you mentioned EA have the 8-week rule. Yeah. That maybe they are trying to be a bit more mindful with how that, so things don't get lost in the ether when so many things are happening.
Yeah, exactly. So they've got a real good eye for what the landscape is and things like that. The only thing to mention about this, I guess it's relevant, and it maybe is because the news piece here is that Bethesda's sort of said that it's still on track for the first half. Is that Bethesda also publish games as well as development, and the game that they're publishing called Redfall is reportedly out in May. So that's going to be interesting to see how they can move around that. So I'm really, really interested to see what they do with it. Definitely going to be something. It's going to be sort of the headliner of whatever episode podcast we get to when Starfield comes out. That will be the main discussion point, I'm sure. And because, like you say, this has got, and you can't say this about every game, unfortunately, can you? But you can kind of sniff them out, can't you? A game that might be game of the year, and this has got all the ingredients. Let's just say that. But from what I'm actually seeing at the moment, I'm exactly the same issue. So,
it's like looking at a paint palette, right? It's like, oh, I like the colors that are on that palette. Can't wait to see what picture they make.
Yeah, and not going. Last time they made amazing paintings, so don't just start running away. So we've been in a good place of it. So there we go, a good place indeed.
I am excited to see more.
Yeah, and I think that what's really funny is Bethesda have got us exactly where they want us, me and you. We are just letting them lead us by the hand into the game, not imagining, not going, I hope I can do this. We're just going, you show us, we'll sit back, you drive. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Wired Unplugged. Happy 2023 to all. Please let us know what IP that Nintendo own would make you buy the Nintendo Switch 2 Electric Boogaloo. And if you have been playing some games over Christmas, new, old, demos, betas, whatever, early access titles, you can let us know. You can tweet us at Wired Unplugged. You can email us at unplugged@wiredproductions.com. Get involved, and we will answer. Well, we'll read the answers, and the very, very, very best of your answers, you might win something. It's given season, but I don't know what yet. We'll find out next week, isn't it? Aaron, thank you very, very much. Good to have you back, and we'll see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Wired Unplugged.